Good afternoon and welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. At this time, I would like to ask everyone who can to stand and join us in Pledge of the Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I feel sure everyone has already turned off their phone, so we don't have any interruptions. I will now call our meeting to order. For those of you who do not have a copy of the agenda or who are attending for the first time, we will concern ourselves with cases that are on consent. These are cases that have been reviewed by the staff and by the board, and to which there's no known objections at this time. We have discussed these in our work session. Certain staff comments and stipulations have been added, and we do not anticipate any further discussion to need to make a decision. So as we go forward, the county zoning manager, Mr. Peterson, will read each case into the record. He will ask that you raise your hand to show that when your case is called, to show you're present. If you're here in opposition to a case that is currently on consent, Mr. Peterson will ask you to identify yourself as the case is read into the record. We will then pull that case off of consent and hear it as part of our regular case agenda. We will then vote on all the cases on consent at one time. Once we have approved the cases on consent, we will move to our regular case agenda. With that, we're ready to address the consent cases. Mr. Peterson?
Okay, and before we do that, Madam Chair and Board, the applicant for variance case V28 of 2025, Vicky Beham, she requests this case be continued one more month so they can work on their plan.
Okay, can I have a moment?
Make a motion to continue V28 till next month.
We have a motion and a second. Please place your votes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, and the applicant for variance case V15 of 2025, Heath Lawson, he wants to address the board, so we're going to pull this one off consent so he can address the board for his case. So I'm just not going to read that in. All right. All right. Yeah, just make a motion to pull it off consent.
I make a motion to remove V15 from consent.
May I have a second? Second. All right, all in favor, please place your votes. Motion to move Approved. Thank you.
All right, starting with the consent agenda. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals, variance hearing consent agenda for March 12th, 2025. First case on consent is variance case V17. Sandy Braswell requests a variance to allow parking and/or maneuvering on a non-hardened and non-treated surface, which is gravel access for the approximately 962 square foot canopy and steel building in land lot 718 and 719 of the 19th district. The property is located on the south side of Macedonia Road, east of Avondale Parkway. The staff recommends approval, subject to Cobb DOT comments. And number 2, owner to maintain the gravel on the part of the driveway not paved. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V17? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V25, Isaac Hyatt requests a variance to increase the maximum impervious coverage from 35% to 39.1% in land lot 166 of the first district. The property is located on the east side of Bliss Lane, north of Roswell Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to number 1, stormwater management comments, and number 2, stormwater management and sewer to approve the final site plan. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V25? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V31, State Permits, Inc. requests a variance to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 130 to 122 in land lot 985 of the 17th district. The property is located at the northwest intersection of Paris Ferry Road and Parkwood Circle. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V31? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V33, Jason Turner requests a variance to, number 1, reduce the front setback from required 45 feet to 43 feet. Number 2, reduce the side setback from required 12 feet to 10 feet, which is existing. And number 3, reduce the setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an existing approximately 400 square foot building for required 12 feet to 7 feet adjacent to the east property line in land lot 957 of the 17th district. The property is located on the north side of Farmington Drive, east of Woodland Brook Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to number 1, stormwater management comments, and number 2, Cobb DOT comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V33? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V34, Jeffrey Wirtz requests a variance to reduce the front setback from required 45 feet to 25 feet in land lot 908 of the 17th district. The property is located on the northwest side of Tanglewood Drive, south of Wallace Circle. Staff recommends approval, subject to Cobb DOT comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case V34? Let the record show that no one's opposed to variance case V34. Variance case V35, Daniela Dudas requests a variance to number 1, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed 390 square foot above ground pool for required 35 feet to 10 feet. And number 2, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from 35% to 45.27%, which is existing, in land lot 120 of the 17th district. The property is located on the south side of Cover Bridge Place, west of Weatherly Way. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V35? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V36, James and Ruthie Cigar request a variance to number 1, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed 1-story, 600 square foot garage for required 10 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number 2, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure, an existing 179 square foot shed for required 10 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the south property line in land lot 963 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Old Kent Road, southwest of Dogwood Valley Court. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V36? We have one person opposed, Madam Chair and Board, so we'll pull that one off consent and put it in its regular place. And lastly, variance case V40, Derek A. Kirchner requests a variance to number 1, reduce the side setback along the south property line from required 10 feet to 5 feet for the screen porch. Number 2, reduce the setbacks for an uncovered deck existing from required 5 feet to 4 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number 3, increase the maximum impervious surface from 35% to 37% in land lots 142 and 143 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Delphinium Boulevard, north of Dahlia Way. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V40? Let the record show there's no one opposed, and that completes the consent agenda, Madam Chairwoman and Board.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Do you have a question? Oh, you were going to.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended by the deletion of V15.
All right. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
V36.
I'm sorry, and V36, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. The consent agenda is approved. Now we'll move on to our regular agenda. If you were on consent, you're welcome to stay or to leave. Just do so quietly. All righty. Mr. Peterson will read a case into the record. The applicant and the representative of the applicant who wishes to speak will be asked to come forward, be sworn in. Likewise, anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be asked to come forward and be sworn in as well. The process is you'll have 10 minutes to present your case, as will the opposition. Once you have both had time to make your presentations, we will close the public hearing, and then if there are any questions for you from the board, we will ask you to come back to the podium and answer them at that time. Mr. Peterson?
Okay. First case on today's agenda is variance case V15. Heath Lawson requests a variance to number 1, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an existing approximately 800 square foot carport required 100 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the western property line and southern property line. Number 2, reduce the setbacks for a proposed accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,440 square foot building required 100 feet to 10 feet from the rear property line, 50 feet from the western property line, and 45 feet from the eastern property line. Number 3, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an existing approximately 288 square foot shed required 35 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the eastern and southern property lines. And 4, allow for parking and/or maneuvering on a non-hardened and treated surface, which is the existing grass drive and the existing gravel drive and grass in land lot 3 of the 20th district. The property is located on the south side of McCoy Road, east of Will Bend Street. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V15? Let the record show there's no one opposed. The applicant, please come forward.
How y'all doing this evening? I just had a couple questions. We actually put this,
Madam Chair, if you could ask the applicant to state their name.
Please state your names.
Heath Lawson.
Kimberly Lawson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
We started this back, I don't know, February, and we originally had the carport that we have question about, the 800 square foot carport that's on the west and south property lines erected, and we did not realize we had to have a variance and a permit. I know ignorance is not above the law, so we're here trying to do it the right way. And we had it erected 1 foot off of our property line on those corners. And we would like to leave the carport where it is, rather than inquiring another debt of $2,500 to have it moved 4 foot off of those property lines. So my question to the board is, will you let me leave it 1 foot off of those property lines? The same as above on the other property, the east and south property lines, where we're gonna be moving another shed to 1 foot off those property lines. We would just like to simply leave our boat shed where it is, and the reason we didn't get a permit and a variance before is it's mobile. It's big, it's long, it's 20 by 40 foot, but I didn't think we had to have that because it wasn't on a foundation. It's not, it can be moved, so. But we're here trying to leave it where it is and ask for permission to utilize all of our property, you know, that we pay a mortgage on and pay taxes on.
Mr. Johnson, how do we proceed with this particular request? Should we put this on hold and let him go back with the county? Because it sounds like a lot of changes.
Well, it sounds like they're requesting a change, which, I mean,
Close the public hearing, then
Yeah.
discussion.
yeah. So if they're done making the presentation, we close the public hearing and then enter into questions and answers from the board and then go from there.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to share? If not, we can ask you to be seated. If we have more questions, we'll call you back up.
Well, no, I just didn't understand why it was okay for one to be 1 foot off the property line on the other side of the property, but not this one to stay where it was. I was kind of concerned about that decision, and we would just like to leave it where it is. I mean, we don't mind paying the variance and the building fees and all that and doing it the correct way, because ignorance isn't above the law, but we would just like to leave our shed where it is and utilize all the property that we pay taxes on.
All right. If you'll be seated, we'll ask again.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Fred, that's your case.
All right, let's, Mr. Peterson, let's talk about it. So I guess the applicant's question is, why does one need to be moved 5 feet, but the other's okay where it is? Can staff, can the county speak to that?
Yes, and I'll specifically talk to where the 5 feet came from for the eastern, for the west and south property lines. In the information that was submitted to us, you know, it looks like he did talk to his neighbor next door, Mr. Johnson. And Mr. Johnson was okay with this request as long as this structure was 5 feet off the west and south property lines. And that's how that got put into the consent agenda.
Okay. Do we have something here that shows the shed location? So we can, or can we amplify this somehow? Or does this even show the shed?
Would we, yeah.
Can you put on the variance analysis page that has the site plan?
Yeah. Mr. Lawson, do you have a copy of what you submitted showing your site.
There we
Oh, we
go.
found it. Never, we've got it.
All right. So from this, the carport, yeah, now we can kind of read them. The carport is slammed right up against the property line and almost to the back line as well, correct? But it doesn't look like the shed, at least here, it doesn't look like the shed is just 1 foot off the property line.
It says 1.1, I think, on the survey.
Huh.
And there's a revised survey to put up on the screen in here. If you go onto site plan revised,
Okay,
there it is.
okay,
So this one shows the bigger building and then the other shed that's 1 foot off the property line.
all right. So are we being asked to give 2 variances or just 1?
There's actually 3 variances here. There's one for each of the buildings. One for the
All
carport, one for the center building, and then one for the little shed on the eastern property line.
Is that existing?
It is existing, but I think he's moving it from the center of the yard to the southeast corner.
And were there any other neighbor comments or objections other than that noted by the neighbor to the on the
That was
carport side?
That was the only neighbor comment we got.
Okay, and we have Army Corps of Engineers to the rear in part, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so they most likely don't have a whole lot going on there that's going to be adversely impacted. Okay, well, I'm prepared to make a recommendation then, unless anybody else has questions of staff or,
Can I just,
Go
one of
ahead.
the other variances is for, I believe this movable shed was the 288 square foot shed. They want to have parking and maneuvering on a non-hardened, untreated surface, which is an existing gravel drive and grass. So there's a DOT comment with regards to that. I think that needs to be addressed as well.
yeah. Do you have any problems with the DOT comment?
No, I don't,
Okay, good.
because
All right.
that's what we usually abide by.
Right. All right, so my motion is that we accept the staff recommendations and require this to be moved 5 feet off that property line with the adjoining neighbor to the bottom of the screen that was just shown to us. Which property line is that? Is it north, south, east, or west there, Mr. Peterson?
I believe that's the west property line.
Okay, so this shed will have to, this carport will have to be moved 5 feet off the west property line, and the variances are subject to all DOT comments and any and all other staff recommendations.
Second.
Place your votes, please. Motion passed. If you'd like to get with staff, we've completed our action. If you need to deal with something later, we can check with, you can talk to staff.
I also just have a question. The DOT comments aren't on here. What are they? This is news to me.
What, could you stay until we complete the rest, stay until we complete the rest of the business, and then we can discuss this? If you don't, okay?
And while we're on that subject with this comment from DOT, we did not include that in our staff recommendation because all the gravel and all the grass access is in the very back of the property. This comment is normally for something that's at the very front near the road, but we did not include it because it's so far back. It's as far back as you can go on the property.
Oh, so it's not,
So it wasn't germane for my recommendation when I put it on
Okay.
consent.
So I have a question with that, is that if this is a place to store a boat, so when you are pulling the boat, you have a car that has to go back to get the boat, you have to pull the boat on a gravel surface to the road. That was my issue, is that it's just not, it's covering a boat that's gonna go in and out during use.
It's covering a boat, and the access to the boat is over his grass. So he's probably gonna back his truck up to the carport to get the boat, and then as soon as he can get on his driveway, he's gonna get on his driveway.
So then he won't have any, there's no reason for him, because I was under the assumption, and as reading it, that he has a gravel drive.
Well, there is some gravel on it, but the gravel's in the very far back part of the property. It's not near the road at all.
Okay,
And that's why the staff did not include that recommendation in the consent agenda.
okay, then I'm okay with that, and it's your variance.
We're fine.
I think we're fine because the staff won't enforce the comment unless the gravel's within 25 feet of the right of way, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
So we're good. Mr. Johnson, are we good with the motion we originally made and passed? Or do we need to make any modifications?
So the question is the existing motion that's already been approved, do you need to redo it? I think for the clerk, you might want the updated language, correct? And so we need to revise or either rescind the motion or to just revise it.
Should we rescind it, make it clean, and then put in a new motion that'd be clean?
Well, if the DOT comments are moot, then I don't know that there needs to be a new motion. I mean, the comments are still applicable if they apply.
Okay,
So I think the question then is still presented, do you need to redo anything? I advise probably not.
okay. What? Okay. Yeah, we're good, okay. We're good. So the DOT comments are not in the motion, is that correct? Because it's not pertinent? Incorrect. Incorrect? We're fine, okay, good.
All right, moving on to the next case is variance case V32, German Jackson. Request a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure to be located in front of and to the side of the principal structure, which is a proposed 160 square foot shed. Number 2, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for a proposed 160 square foot shed from required 10 feet to 4 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number 3, allow for parking and or maneuvering on a non-hard and treated surface, which is gravel for the shed access, land lot 352 of the 17th district. The property is located on the east side of Old Concord Road, south of McGinnis Circle. Is the applicant present? The director show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V32? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Will the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Good afternoon, if you'll state your name, please.
Hi, my name is Jermon Jackson. This is my wife, Zadie Jackson.
So talk to us about what you're requesting, please.
Yes, so I'm trying to utilize a really awkward space on our property, and I want to put a shed. And the purpose is to store items. The long-term goal is to put as much concrete in the front because we have family living with us, and so multiple cars and whatnot, but yes. And then I know the issue is that it's in the front, but I would like to wrap a fence around it, close it off, because we have little kids that will utilize the backyard once it's completely renovated.
Is that your case?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's no one in opposition, so when we discussed this,
Whoops, I realized I jumped the gun. Do you have anything else you'd like to say? Otherwise, we'll close the public meeting and then we can have questions.
Okay, I do not. Me and Kim talked quite a bit.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll close the public meeting and then Ms. can ask the questions.
you can stay.
So you can,
Don't
y'all can
please
stay. Yeah,
Don't go
'cause-
back and forth.
Yeah, we're not going to,
So, when we discussed this last, I asked you to take a picture of the front of where you would, and then also a picture of your backyard.
Absolutely.
So if you have that on your phone, you can hand it to him. He can put it on the screen so we could see it. in the
It's
back.
in there. So there's multiple documents there. So the front. So this picture here depicts what it would look like if the fence is present. Go to the next page. This is what the shed looks like. And so that front porch setting portion would be facing towards the backyard, not the front of the house. And then you go to the next portion. There was questions or concerns about the type of gravel foundation, and that's what it is. But do it myself, DIY project. And then
If when you're speaking, if you could speak into the mic so we can really
Yes.
hear you. Thank you.
And then here's the front of the house. The red is just to represent a fence, but inside that red is gonna be the shed. And then the next page. Similar thing. See, there's quite a bit of offset between the road and our property. And so again, the red is just the fence, and then inside the red, to the left of the red would be where the shed would be located. And then next page, if there's another. And then there too is a red just representing the fence, if you can see it. And then inside the fence would be the shed. And so I know that there was some concerns of why am I not using the rest of the property? We're a pretty active family, and we want to use that, the largest portion of our property to put things like a batting cage and a basketball court. So we want to preserve that space for those type of things that we enjoy doing. And that's it.
So in looking at the property, I know there was a discussion, you had said that there was a significant drop off and it would require you to put in a retaining wall, which
Yes.
when we were looking at, with our stormwater manager, we were looking at the topography of the property and it appeared to be pretty flat. You and I had a discussion about putting this shed more to the back of your property, within the setbacks, because having something like this to the front of your property is not consistent to the neighborhood. And I know that, it's gonna be a shed, and it looks very nice, but then down the road, you're gonna use it for your wife to do a kitchen, which is fine as long as you go through and get all of your permits. Again, I definitely have strong feelings that putting this, when we look at variances, we look at the property and it's this shape and size and topography. You don't have a topography issue. You don't have a size issue. So basically, when I'm looking at this, you do have parts of your property here where you could put something like this behind your property and still allow, you have a nice, you have a rather large size property that I still think you can put some other things that you want to provide for your family. But I just feel at this point, there's really no reason why you can't put this behind your house. You do have, there's one thing that you do have, is you have a sewer easement that goes along the side of your house.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever you put there, like a batting cage or whatever you're gonna put there, you're gonna have to remain outside that sewer easement. But I still believe strongly that I don't have a problem that you put this on a gravel foundation, but I do have a problem being in the front of your property. So, I would like to recommend that we deny this variance and that you can find a better solution to the back of your property. So I
do-
make my motion to deny V32.
Second.
Motion passed. Variance denied. Does that conclude our business, Mr.?
No.
We have one more. Okay, next
Oh, that's
and
fine.
last variance is variance case V36, James and Ruthie Cigar. Request a variance to number one, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed one-story, 600 square foot garage, required 10 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number two, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure, which is an existing 179 square foot shed, required 10 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the south property line in land lot 963 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Old Canton Road, southwest of Dogwood Valley Court. The applicant was present, and earlier there was one person here opposed. All those who wish to address the board either for or against this application, please come forward to be sworn in.
Hey, I'm Michael Staley. I'm the representative for Ruthie and James Sager. And so the project involved trying to get a garage, an additional garage onto the property. And the preliminary design work, of course, identified that the side setback line was a hindrance in that there's only 20 feet from the house to the side setback line, so that an additional garage would not allow any turning radius. So we simply designed it in a manner, we looked at it in more than one way, but we decided to apply for a variance in spite of the time delay on things, so that they could have some ability to get in and out of the new garage. I think that's all there really is.
Anything else? Okay, please take a seat.
Okay?
Madam Chairwoman, board members, my name is Jill Flam. I'm with the East Cobb Civic Association, and I'm presenting our recommendations on V36. Our case manager, Ben Alper, had a conflict in his schedule today and could not be here. ECCA has already submitted its recommendations to the board and, in addition, handed out copies today. As you heard, the applicant requests to reduce the side setback from 10 to 5 feet on the south side of the home to allow an additional garage to be constructed with room enough to get in and out of the turnaround from both the existing and proposed garages, and two, reduce the 10-foot setback to 5 feet on the south side for an existing shed. The application materials on the Cobb County website do not include a signed petition of consent by contiguous neighbors or occupants, nor documentation of any certified mailing to those owners. ECCA has just heard back from its member subdivision, Mitzi Forest, which backs up to the rear of this property. The Mitzi Forest representative informed ECCA that the homeowner to the rear is aware and okay with the changes. That information is per the renter on that property. And Mitzi Forest does not have any issues if the new building is located near the home, as is represented on the proposed site plan. Attempts by ECCA to meet with the applicant were unsuccessful. ECCA is unaware of any hardship for this variance due to the shape, size, or topography of the land. It is our opinion that the owner is trying to do too much on the property. We actually have two recommendations. First, As no documentation has been presented concerning notification of the contiguous neighbors, ECCA recommends that this variance be held until they have been notified. If such documentation is available and presented, then the following would be our recommendation. ECCA recommends that variance 1 for the new turnaround be denied due to lack of hardship as defined by Cobb County. ECCA does not have a recommendation for the existing shed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now close the public hearing.
Will the applicant come forward?
Yes, can I clarify a couple of things?
Yes.
Yes.
So the shed is actually not staying in the plans. I don't know where that got misconstrued. It was not on the application that I filled out myself.
Could you speak up just a little bit, please?
The shed is not to remain, only the garage. The shed is being dismantled, but because of the things that are in the shed, it's not being dismantled until the garage. So somebody has translated my original application because the shed was on the survey and decided that we also needed to go ahead and ask for the shed, but the shed is going away. So that's number one. Number two, we did do the contiguous, we got the signatures from the adjacent neighbors. And when I submitted them, when I realized I was a day late and I called last Thursday and the zoning office said, hey, email it here. And then I called and followed up on Monday and they said, oh, we've had our front office people where you emailed it to were out with COVID and Cameron's been at the front desk all week. And then Jessica got back to me and said, you need to bring it in. So I got on my horse and I took it and handed it to Cameron yesterday. So we had it. It took us a while to catch up with one of the neighbors, so it didn't come in until the 11th hour, but we did turn it in, and we try to stay on top of these things.
Can you address the hardship?
The hardship is simply just the ability to turn around in the driveway. So they have a growing family and they have the desire to have an additional garage with the intent of having 4 or 5 cars in the family sooner and later, right, for an extended period of time. So the garage behind the house, because if there's only 20 feet there, if the corner of the garage is simply right behind the corner of the house, you really don't have the ability to get in and out of the garage. So moving it over 5 feet, and we didn't feel, again, I've dealt with this, on more than one circumstance, asking for a garage to be 5 feet off of the sideline instead of 10 feet off of the sideline is probably your most common request. And we didn't feel like we were asking for much in that regard.
Well, since this is impeding into the setback, I would like to recommend that we do some plantings along the garage to shield it on the south side of the property line. Does anybody have any specific recommendations or thoughts on what that should be, or?
I can tell you that all of that is in the plans.
It is in the plans?
Yes, the pool that you see there is being replaced because it was 50 years old and failing, right? One of the walls was caving in. The topography is being changed related to stormwater management. The landscape periphery is being established, including specific plants behind, between the garage and the property line. The fence is, it's a 1972, 1973 house. So all of the primary elements of trees and shrubs and everything is being renovated.
Okay. All right, does anyone have any questions?
I think you could put that they could meet with the county arborist so that there are appropriate plantings that would require it to be buffered to the next door neighbor, so the county arborist can suggest the plantings that they feel that would survive, and you could use that as a stipulation.
Do you know what's spec there? You just know that you're planning? Do you know the landscaping type, or is it just landscaping?
I'm a landscape designer, so I all this is in place already and ready to go to permitting.
Okay, well, just
The site plan, everything, stormwater management.
Sounds like he's.
Okay. All right, right, given the fact that the signatures were turned in, I've seen them, they exist. I understand the hardship that you have explained, and you have agreed to the planting along the south property line to shield the new garage. I would just add a step to get with the county arborist to make sure they're in agreement on the shielding there. And my motion is to approve it with those stipulations.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Second. All in favor? Motion passes, approved. Thank you. Mr. Peterson, do we have anything else that
That completes your agenda.
thank you. All right, now, some quick housekeeping. Have y'all had time to review the minutes from the special call meeting on March 3rd for our work session and also for our regular meeting on February 12th? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve both minutes of February 12th and March 3rd.
Second.
Second.
No, second.
Oh,
This won't stay on for some reason. I'm trying to press it,
you want to use my mic?
Yeah.
but, It's okay. Sure, thank you. This is indicating that Vice Chairman Willis called the meeting to order, but it's indicating that the chair was present.
I was late.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Thank you. That's fine.
All in favor?
All right, just clarifying.
All in
Thank you.
favor? Yes, all right, we've approved, Brad?
Fred, you didn't vote?
Fred, you didn't? Okay, all right, that minute's approved. All right, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment, or
To adjourn.
to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Everybody else wants to, does anyone have a second for that one?
I'll second.
Thank you. All please place your votes. All right, thank you, we are adjourned.
We didn't want to leave?